Hey, welcome to Q&A, where you ask your questions on faith and life, and I do my best to give a biblical perspective. My apologies. I said I would try and catch up on a few questions, and I'm just being tied up with a lot of stuff at the moment, but we are back into it again, and this week we will do an extra session or so just to begin to catch up. So with that in mind, let's jump into today's question. Uh, from a biblical standpoint, do you have to reconcile and maintain the relationship when you forgive, or can you forgive and still remove them from your life? That's a great question. The short answer is no, you don't have to reconcile with people when you forgive them. In fact, forgiveness and reconciliation are two, while related, are entirely separate things. And I think so often the reason people struggle to forgive is that they confuse the two and think that if I forgive, then I must reconcile. If I forgive the person who has assaulted me, then I must reconcile and have them become friends. If I forgive the person who raped me, if I forgive the person who the drunk driver who killed my child, then I must somehow be in a relationship with them. And that confusing the two is why some people, or many people, struggle. That's why I say the shorter answer is no, you don't have to reconcile. The two are separate but connected things. To forgive someone requires nothing on the part of the person being forgiven. I can forgive people without the other person responding. I'm not asking anything of them. In fact, there are times, as there will probably have been in your life, where you've forgiven people without them even being aware that they've offended you and that you have taken that step to forgive them. Because forgiveness in the first instance is really an act between you and God. It's about you releasing the person and the hurt, the offense, the devastation, whatever it is that person has caused. You are releasing them and that to God in order to set yourself free from the bondage of that unforgiveness, the bondage of that hurt, in order to be drawn deeper into the things of God. I think, for example, of what it says and Paul says in Ephesians chapter 4, I think it's about verse 30, 32, where he says, forgive others as God has forgiven you. See, we forgive not because we want to be reconciled with the other person. We forgive because God has forgiven us, because God has chosen to set us free from bondage. We choose to set ourselves free from bondage by forgiving other people. Jesus says in Matthew 6, I can't remember the reference, but I'm pretty confident in Matthew 6, it's in Luke. Jesus says basically, if you forgive others, God forgives you. Now, he's not talking about conditional grace where God will forgive you your sins if you first forgive others. What he's saying is that as you forgive those who have hurt you, you are subsequently freed from that bondage that withholding forgiveness enslaves you to. And God is able to forgive you, to set you free from that bondage, to set you free from that pain, to set you free from the things around that situation. So forgiveness isn't so much about the person who's hurt you, but rather it's about you and your relationship with God. On the other hand, reconciliation is about restoring a relationship between you and the person who's hurt you, between you and the person who's offended you. And for that to happen, the person has to own the hurt, they have to own their actions, and they have to take responsibility for what they've done, for what they've said, and for the way that it's impacted you. That's the starting point. And from then, you have to begin to work through it. So it involves a mutual commitment to work through the issues in order to come to that place of reconciliation and restore the relationship. So that's why I say the two are different. So to answer your question, do you have to maintain a relationship with someone if you forgive them? The answer is no, you don't have to. You can forgive people without being reconciled. And if you don't want a friendship with that person because they're not the type of person that you want a friendship with, or you've decided, you're just not in the same space anymore, that's fine. You don't have to. Maybe you don't want a relationship with that person because they refuse to acknowledge or take responsibility for what they've said or done. And they minimize it, they downplay it. And you think, you know what, I don't, that's not the type of person I want to continue a relationship with. That's okay. But having said that, can I just say that the Bible's very clear that we have to love our enemies. So no matter whether you maintain a relationship with someone or not, you still have to love them. And for what it's worth, from my experience, I've always found it easier to love people as friends than as enemies. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Great question. But if you've got questions on faith and life, jump over to slido.com, use the hashtag askhamish. I'd love to hear from you. But that's it for now. Until next time, God bless.